Hey guys, 9-3 day 2. So this section has been giving me fits because it's not on the test, but it's something you need to know how to do. And it's something that you need to use the vertical asymptote and horizontal asymptote and holes and stuff like that we just learned about from yesterday to get an idea of what a graph is going to look like. You will be asked these when you get to college algebra and pre-calc. And again, it's a skill you need to know. So we're just looking at example 4. Let's take a look at that. All right, so the directions tell us to sketch the graph of y equals x plus 2 over x plus 3, x minus 4. Well, we know that the vertical asymptotes are going to be at x is negative 3 and x is 4. So you can see that those have been sketched. But now we need to figure out what to do from there on. All right, so basically you want to say this area is x is less than 3. This area is x is greater than 4. Pick a value less than 3. That would make this negative. It makes this negative and that negative. So you have a negative over a negative times a negative. So a negative over a negative times a negative. So that's a negative over a positive, so that makes that negative. Any number greater than 4 is going to make this positive, and this positive. So you have a positive over a positive, which is, of course, going to make that positive. All right, so then what happens in the middle? As you can see, it's already been found out for us. Well, there's a couple of different things that you can do. Given that this graph has x plus 2 over in the numerator, you can set that part equal to 0 so you can find out where your y-intercept is. And in this case, it would be negative. Oh, I almost said negative 2 just by, that was wrong. Okay, so plug in 0. 0 plus 2 over 0 plus 3 times 0 minus 4. So then that gives you 2 over negative 12, which is negative 0.17, which is what they have right there. All right, now you can also see that if you set this numerator equal to 0, you would have x is negative 2. So it's crossing right here. Okay, so you can either have a graph that goes like this, or you can have a graph that goes like this, like we have. So then we know we're going from here to here, and typically they're going to be opposite each other when you see this. So the best thing to do is to know that. But then you can pick a number and check, and you'll see that it's going down. Right? Not the best guidance, I apologize, but let's take a look at the next one. So we have sketched a graph y equals x plus 1 over x minus 3, x plus 2. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to do is to make sure I'm writing it down correctly, and then I want to identify what my asymptotes are. So I know that I have a vertical asymptote at x is 3 and at x is negative 2. So now let's go ahead and sketch that out. Right? And for these, you are just sketching. There is no graph paper provided for you. I know, crazy, right? But that's because things can be a little bit odd. All right, so then once we have that all there, so we have x is 3. So I have a vertical asymptote here. And I also have a vertical asymptote here. All right, so now I need to figure out what's going on. Well, this x plus 1, we could set that equal to 0. And I have x is negative 1. So when x is negative 1, I know that my y value is going to be 0, right? But that's all I know right now. Okay, so what happens when my x is less than negative 2? What happens when my x is greater than 3? And then what happens there? All right, so for example, what happens when x is 0? All right, so x is less than 2. So that would make this a negative. That makes this a negative, and it makes that a negative. So you have a negative over negative times a negative. So a negative over positive, which means, ooh, I didn't mean to do that. Y is negative, so y is less than 0. And then you have over here, so x is greater than 3, so that would be the positive, this would be positive, and this would be positive. So you have positive, positive. So y is greater than 0. Oh boy. Okay. Now, let's take a look at what happens when x is 0. So when x is 0, you have 1 over negative 3 times 2, which is negative 1/6, which is negative 0.17, right? All right, so we know that that's going here. And then let's plug in 2, shall we, for x? So 2 plus 1 is 3. So if x is 2, you have 2 plus 1 over 2 minus 3, 2 plus 2. So that's going to be a positive over a negative times a negative. So that's going to be negative. So you're going to have a negative number. So your graph is going to look something like this. And boy, is that horrible, but it gets the job done. We know it's y is greater than 0. So we know we're going to have this. And y is less than 0. So you know you're going to have that. Right? Not perfect, but again, it's something that you need to be able to use and identify and figure out how to do that. So basically, that's what we're going to be doing with this particular section today, is just testing those out, getting a better feel of the vertical asymptote, the horizontal asymptote, and then helping you visualize that without using a graphing calculator, if you will. All right, let me know if you guys have questions. I certainly expect there to be some, but again, this is not NOT, bold, capitalized, underlined, not on the test. Go be awesome.